Scream 6 is the 5th film in the franchise crossing the $100 million mark at the box office, knocking Creed 3 out of the #1 spot, despite early controversy surrounding Neve Campbell's decision not to return to the franchise. And while Scream 6's tagline boasts "New York, New Rules," we find the saying by Jean-Baptiste Alphonse rings true: the more things change, the more they stay the same. Even though we saw and got many new exciting things in Scream 6, we also followed similar formulas from previous films. For this Pop 5, we will be entering spoiler territory to discuss the 5 best
and worst
moments in Scream 6.
Number 5, worst moment. Our list starts with a series of connected moments. Yes, I know we are slightly breaking the rules here, but it will all make sense in a minute. These series of moments are tied to the fate of Stu Macher in the Scream universe. Halfway into the film, we see that Stu is dead. Well, at least according to the police station suspect board.
You know, that board looks a little familiar. Maybe a little popcorn theory.
Later, we hear Mindy contradicting this and furthering the conspiracy theory around Stu being alive when talking with Kirby in the shrine. The Stu references don't end. Towards the end of the movie, we see one of the Ghostface killers hit in the head with the same TV that killed Stu and then fall to the floor, dying with it on his head. While it may be fun for some Scream fans to come up with theories around Stu surviving, this is a heated topic among Scream fans, which tends to prove that Richie's theory of toxic fandom is more than just a stab reference. Number 5, best moment. While not all the supposed deaths come with closure,
when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life for one last scare.
yes, I'm talking about Stu. And let's not forget that in Scream 3, we saw Angelina's body dragged off screen, not necessarily indicating that she was dead. After the Scream box set was released the next year, the box inside recaps those who died. Conveniently left out of that list was Angelina. The same Angelina who we have eyes on returning in Scream 7 because, well, we will just save that theory for you on another show. Scream 4 left us hanging with Kirby, who we saw return in Scream 6. A more determined and focused Kirby who grew up and turned her tragedy into an objective to catch bad guys. Despite being a bit more mature, she was still not afraid to let her horror nerd flag fly. Number 4 best moment
was seeing the near confirmation of the cult of Ghostface existing in the Scream universe. In case you didn't know, this is something that was supposed to play out in Scream 3 before the script was tossed out for good reason. But we have seen hints of it being real in the last 2 films, and again in Scream 6. Our primary motive for Jason Carvey, our opening scene killer, was to finish Richie's movie. This means that somewhere in the interwebs of the Scream universe, Richie's subreddit blog chronicling his passion for Stab, filmmaking, and quite possibly a script to his own sequel to Stab exists. Can anyone see the Roman connection here, or is it just me?
It was like he was making a movie.
You. This is all because of you.
A director, Sid. I direct.
Number 4 worst moment.
It's also the cult, only this being potentially the inspiration for it. As we learned in Scream 5, Richie and Amber found each other on a Stab subreddit, and his goal was to deliver a good sequel to the franchise.
All this just to make me the hero of your fucked up movie?
Sweetie, you're not the hero. You're the villain.
In the Scream 6 finale, we not only further explore Richie's love for the franchise, but for the real-life story behind it, while his fan-made Stab movie plays in the background. His sequel might have been a direct sequel to the first Stab movie, retconning it, just like 2018's Halloween did for its own franchise. Now, while I can understand in today's modern world, it is easier to influence people into doing stupid things through social media. See people eating Tide Pods. What makes this bad is that instead of taking the opportunity to pull from the franchise's foundation, which has already laid out the breadcrumbs in Scream 2, 3, and 4, we get the curveball with Richie potentially being the martyr for the cult. I mean, it was right there for you. You had a chance to elevate Scream 3 by making Roman the martyr of the cult, maybe even deliver the Stu story from Scream 3. Hell, you can even have called back to Mrs. Loomis finding Mickey on the internet, or potentially Gail being behind the cult to stay relevant in Hollywood. What about even expanding on the Woodsboro Cinema Club? I mean, it was right there, but you had to choose Richie. My God.
Number 3, worst moment. Gail survives. One of the best and saddest moments of Scream 5 was the death of Dewey. His death was the declaration that truly no one was safe inside of the Scream universe any longer. This moment also concluded Gail's story arc, especially when she said she was not going to write another negative book.
But at least I know what I'm going to write about.
What's that?
Not this. Those fuckers can die in anonymity. Maybe something about a good man who used to be the sheriff here once. I'd like to read that story.
However, like the vile cockroach that she is, Gail returned to her old ways, writing a book glorifying the latest murders and attacking Sam's character and the motive in the process. After Ghostface finds their way inside of her apartment and brutally stabs Gail to what we think is her death, we have finally ended her story. However, we learn at the end that is not the case, and now have to ponder if the Scream universe ever fell into the apocalypse. The only thing that would survive would be cockroaches, zombies, and Gail Weathers. Number 3, best moment. The subway scene is one of the best moments, not only in the film, but in the franchise. It is one of the most suspenseful scenes since Scream 2, when Sidney and Haley try to escape Ghostface by crawling over his lap after he crashed the police car into a K-rail. The subway brought that same suspense as we see multiple people wearing Ghostface masks, meaning that anyone could be the killer. And who's to say that it could not have been the ultimate swerve in that the eventual attack comes from the killer wearing a different mask, maybe the Brandon James Ghostface mask. Not only was the build-up to Mindy's attack a nail-biter, but seeing one of the Ghostface on the other train walk towards Sam with purpose before Danny steps between them was heart-pounding. Number 2 best moment?
This is the moment that literally made me throw my fist into the air. Luckily for me, I was not holding soda and popcorn in my hands at the time, or it would have gotten quite a bit messy. That moment came when we saw something that we've talked about often on this channel, and that was 2 killers in the Ghostface costume on screen at once. Now, while they may have been working together rather than doing their version of the Spider-Man finger pointing meme, this was epic as it elevated the level of terror that our protagonist had to deal with. And for a brief few minutes, I wasn't sure how many Ghostfaces would appear in the finale. But I felt we were in for an epic conclusion, which we will talk about shortly.
Number 2 worst moment?
Another series of moments tied together that, coupled with our first worst moment, may determine if Scream 6 ages like fine wine or spoiled milk. This may be the ultimate hidden Scream universe reference to Henry Winkler. Scream 6 jumped the shark, something Winkler, aka Principal Himbry, did on Happy Days, where he literally jumped a shark. thus coining the phrase that means reaching a point at which far-fetched events are included merely for the sake of novelty, typically indicating a decline in quality. Our jumping the shark moments come in the form of violence, and the near superhuman characters surviving their initial attacks. This started with Annika having a knife thrust into her stomach, turned and slowly pulled up. And just so everybody is aware, a buck knife's blade is 6 inches long. So how Annika was able to walk or crawl across the ladder without spilling her guts out is beyond me. But this is something that we would continue to see happen throughout the rest of the movie with the knife attacks and how easily someone survived.
Number 1 worst moment. The reveal at the end where we see Detective Bailey step into the theater's auditorium revealing himself to be Richie's father, like Mrs. Loomis did in Scream 2, only his accomplices are not someone he found on the internet. They're his son and daughter, who were also hell-bent on revenge. Not only did this ending feel predictable, but it felt a tad lazy in its execution, recycling multiple lines from Scream 2, such as Quinn repeating Mickey's line,
It's twist, huh? Didn't see it coming, did ya?
and Tara paraphrasing Sydney's line,
No, Billy was a good boy. Billy was perfect. You did a bang-up job, Mrs. Loomis. Now,
Number 1 best moment. The boldest step in the franchise is the opening kill. Film professor Laura Crane is catfished by Ghostface, and instead of the usual trivia game over the phone, Ghostface plays a game of hide and seek with Laura, who leaves the bar to find her lost date. After being lured into a dark alley, Ghostface jumps out from the shadows and kills her. He then reveals his face to the audience. A first in the franchise because, as we all know, the Ghostface reveal is saved for the final act. As much as it was shocking, it signified that we were in for something different. Not to mention the scene that followed.
It's been a few weeks since Scream 6 has dropped, and it has had some time to marinate in the old brain there. During our review, I had mentioned that maybe I was going into the movie just a little bit too hyped, and that affected my rating on it overall. But, like I said, it's been a few weeks. My rating sticks. This is not something that I would have gone to see in the theater again. It's something that I would definitely have bought. What do you think? Do you agree with these moments? Do you have your own moments that you want to call out as the best or the worst? Or maybe we got it wrong. Maybe some of our best moments are ones that you consider that are wrong, or the worst moments, and some of the worst ones are maybe one of your favorites. What do you think?
Well, I think after I've had some time, my rating has changed. And I wouldn't say go see it in the theater. I would say buy it. I don't know. I'm kind of at the point where I think the franchise needs to end. They've killed all the OGs except for Gail, who I don't like anyway. And she's just proven once again that she's just a cockroach and that's all she'll ever be. So unless they kill her, it's whatever. But like I said, all the original, Nev's still alive, but she wasn't in this one. So I think just end it. I'm kind of ready for it to be over.
Yeah, this is one of those movies where like I said in the review, don't love it. I don't hate it. It's there for me. It's good. I'll watch it again as part of watching all the movies. It's not going to be one of those movies in a franchise that I skip. It's like, oh, I got to watch this part of Halloween. Oh. You know, it's not that on that level of bad.
No, I think there's enough good in there that it'll keep me watching it along with the rest of the franchise, but it's not one that I would just watch standalone. The rest of them I'd probably watch if it was just on TV and wouldn't have to watch the rest of them. But this one, I wouldn't do that.
Now, one of the things I would like to point out is there's a lot of elements for 2 in this. There's also a lot of elements for 3. So when we get Scream 7, hopefully we're not following the formula of Scream 3 and we get something that's very predictable, right? If you say something's going to be fresh, it's got to be fresher than superhuman kills.
Yeah. And, you know, there is a line that was cut when you watch it in the theater where they're like, oh, well, I'm something different. They weren't something different. They recycled a lot of stuff from the previous movies. So you weren't something different. And that's a little disappointing.
Yeah, so what do you think? Let us know if you agree with this list or if you would change it up or add something else on it. And don't forget, it is the quest for 5,000 subscribers where we are giving away things at 25, 50, and 75 and 100 likes and comments on the videos. When we hit 4,000 subscribers, we're giving away that Cinemark Scream Head popcorn bucket. And at 5,000, we're giving away a box of Strawberries and Scream cereal signed by
Matthew Lillard, David Arquette, and Rose McGowan.
Woohoo! That's 3 cool signatures that are on there. So the only thing that probably make it a little bit better is throwing Billy or Nev on there. Or Skeet and Nev on there.
Which, depending on how time goes and what comes up at conventions, you never know.
Honestly, I think I'm going to stop around 4 or 5 names. If we can't get rid of it by the time 4 or 5 names comes, I'm keeping the box. Because the damn box is pretty cool and you see the collection behind me.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of money put into it at this point. So,
time is of the essence.
yes. So, do all the things that you need to do so we can get to 5,000.
Yeah, and you can do that by
Liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing.
Yes.
Don't just watch us. If you're not subscribed, subscribe.
Yeah, and every little like and comment, just say hi in the comment. Drop a like, right? If you're watching it on TV, I told you a while ago, I figured it out. You just hit the arrow up button on your remote, and there's the like button, and you can hit like.
Yeah, and you can just leave a small comment. We've had a couple people that were just like, hey, new from New Zealand, just subscribed. Fantastic. That's great.
Every little like and every little comment does independent YouTubers a lot.
Yes.
And for us, that means that we can reinvest the money into some equipment and to stuff to give away, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So sharing the experience and you'll get something for free possibly.
Yeah. Who doesn't want free stuff? Come on, people. I like free stuff.
And winners have been chosen. There's a bunch of them. They've been contacted in the videos that they had dropped comments on, and we'll be dropping something in the community page very shortly to announce how you can get your prizes.
Yes. Be on the lookout for that.
Anyway, until the next Pop 5.
See ya.
ya.